So recently, a very controversial Pepsi ad came out featuring Kendall Jenner, and I had quite a few friends come up to me and say, Byron, why is this so offensive? My initial reaction was to give them the, are you serious kind of talk? But I thought it'd be a little more productive if we just broke it down on this week's first ever episode of Impact.
Till it all makes sense. Still got so many questions.
If you haven't seen this ad, let me quickly break it down for you. Essentially, Pepsi's short ad is set within a social movement, and it's reminiscent of Black Lives Matter protests, the Women's March, travel ban, and more specifically, immigrants' rights protests that we've seen over the past few years, and more prominently, we've seen that post-election. So the film features young people of color, including an API musician, a Muslim woman, and black dancers as they all partake in this movement. The star of the film is none other than Kendall Jenner, who sees the crowds of people marching past her and quickly drops her photo shoot to join the sea of people in the protest. Eventually, she picks up a Pepsi and marches all the way to the front lines of the protest where she sees a wall of police officers. She approaches one of the officers, hands him a Pepsi, and poof, all of a sudden, everything and everyone is right in the world. Damn, who would have known that the key to institutionalized racism was a can of Pepsi? Alright, now that we're all on the same page here, let's talk about Pepsi's intent for the video. For conversation purposes, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the intent of the video was exactly what Pepsi said it was. Although many would argue that their intention was to cause a lot of controversy, which it did, that's besides the point. In a statement, Pepsi explains that the ad was supposed to explore the moments when we decide to let go, choose to act, follow our passion, and let nothing hold us back. So after receiving a lot of backlash, Pepsi reiterated that they were simply trying to project a global message of unity, peace, and understanding. Unfortunately, their intentions were overshadowed by the impact of the video, which is the real reason we're having this conversation right now. The understanding that regardless of intention, impact has real-world implications. While there are a lot of details, and I do mean a lot of details about the video that warrant a conversation, we wanted to discuss three in particular. The first being the misrepresentation and the romanticization of political protests and social movements. Think Kids Bop, when they try to do a cover of one of your favorite songs, but completely change the lyrics to make it a little more PG-13. So this kind of romanticization of the movements happens throughout the video, but specifically, we see it a lot where we have a lot of people dancing, there's people playing music, and people just generally having a great time. And while I'm not trying to say that these protests don't create this sense of unity, oftentimes they are not about just seeking peace, they are about seeking justice. And more specifically, they occur after something tragic happens, like the death of an innocent life or what's perceived as unjust legislation. More than anything, Pepsi turns protest into something trendy or hip, rather than focusing on the real reason people actually gather and the sadness, anger, and hope that bring these people together. By using protests or social movements because they're trending or the hot issue of the moment, they are continuing and perpetuating the history of exploitation of marginalized communities for the benefit and the profit of the people in power, i.e. these corporations and the people making the decisions. The second thing that we want to discuss is the appropriation of the movement and the people within that movement. Pepsi sprinkles around some people of color here and there and believes that it's actually making a statement about diversity. And while representation is super duper important, we can't just take different people, put them in a video without a story or any context, and call that diversity. Let's bring it back to Pepsi's intention, which is to explore different perspectives and stories, which is totally fine. However, the issue is that these stories and these lives are just briefly explored in this ad and they have no depth. Another place in which we see appropriation happening is when Kendall was handing the Pepsi to the police officer in a scene which looks oddly familiar to the stunning image of Aisha Evans protesting in Baton Rouge. Regardless of if Pepsi even made this connection or not, it's hard not to compare the two and the consequences of Aisha, who ultimately got arrested, and the fate of Kendall, who received the smile from the officer and cheers from the entire crowd. Taking something with so much culture and stories behind it, changing it, and then using it for your own profit or gain is the exact definition of appropriation. And the media loves doing this stuff. They love showing white women saviors. We see this in movies like The Blind Side or Freedom Writers. And while these films show real people doing selfless work, it's almost overshadowed by the way the media heavily focuses on their stories rather than those actually being affected. And as a bonus, this concept that all you had to do was give an officer a can of Pepsi in order to ease tensions between protesters and police officers is not only offensive, it's downright patronizing. Assuming Pepsi's intentions were pure, their overall message had a lot of negative impacts on marginalized communities. However, this does make space for some real conversations. So here are some of our final thoughts and takeaways. Social movements are complex and they require a lot of collaboration and understanding of your positionality as well as others that are working with you. Simply putting diverse individuals in a video doesn't exactly make it more diverse. It requires respecting and accurately representing their culture and their identity rather than using archaic stereotypes to misrepresent them. Finally, we should note that mainstream conversations are more socially focused. These conversations are being had, and as a capitalist society, it is in corporations' best interests to adapt their messaging. I doubt Pepsi's commercial will be the last to address social justice issues, which begs the question, is there a right way for corporations and businesses to effectively tackle social justice issues? Or will they always be at odds with one another? We have some thoughts about this, but we want to know what you think. So let us know in the comment section below. So this was the first episode of Impact. My name is Byron, and thanks for watching.
To carve out your intent.